Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is the Super Jew. I am live from finals week. That's right, at my school right now we're having finals. But I woke up to this big news. I believe it was yesterday. It might have been today. I'm pretty sure it was yesterday, the day before. But I really wanted to make a video about this because I got really excited. If you know me, if you watch my videos, you know I like maps. They're just cool. They're just cool. So Lori Forder, who I'm assuming works at Creative Assembly, has the Thrones of Britannia, the campaign map reveal. And this image right here, I'm sure is like from a battle or something. Like it's from an in-game map or place like a village. I think it is. I don't see why they would just put it on there to look cool. I mean, it looks really, really cool. So yeah, I mean, because you can see, like, look at the top of these huts right here. You can kind of see that those are kind of similar to Attila. So I'm assuming if that is so, then look, looks really cool. It looks kind of something new, a little fresh. But this is just going to be an overview video of the article. We'll just skim through a few things, not everything, because I want this video to be pretty short. We'll mostly be looking at the maps. So first things first, size comparison. So people have kind of been wondering, I know when they first announced Britannia, like, how are they going to do it? So like I said before, like, how big is it going to be? I said before, so the medieval kingdoms that focused on, or not medieval kingdoms, well, yeah, it was like medieval kingdoms for medieval too. It focused on, there was one expansion that focused on Britain, and it was of course smaller than the main game if you didn't play it, but it was more detailed, more focused. And there were just more provinces and sections. It wasn't like London and then, I don't know, Nottingham. It wasn't like that. There was way more. It wasn't just those big cities or notable places. It was other places too that were important just as well. So I'll show, that's actually down a bit further. So we'll get that in a second. But as you can see, I mean, this map is huge compared to, it's 23 times bigger, they're saying, than the Attila map. So right here you can see is Attila, and then the Britannia map will be, of course, this giant one. And you can just tell, like, this isn't the Britannia map zoomed in. Like, this is going to be the detail of the Britannia map, and like the Attila Britain map isn't the map zoomed out, it's just how it looks. So as you can see, like in the north, in like northern Scotland, you have all these little bodies of water, or in Ireland, you can just see that they put definitely a lot more detail right down to like the littlest millimeter, which is like, miles in the game. But really, they just, the designing of the map, really, they did put a lot of detail into it. So yeah, it's comparable in size to the whole grand campaign map of Attila. So the map is going to be huge. There's no doubt about that. So any worries that you had, like, I'm not going to lie, I was a little worried of how this map was going to look. I'm not really worried anymore. I'm actually really excited, especially when I saw this. And I do have a little bone to pick about this, but this is kind of my own little issue with it, but I'll get to that in a second. So these are all the factions that you'll be... Now, I don't believe you'll be able to play as each and every single one. Probably just a few, like definitely Northumbria, Wessex. Probably, these... I don't really know how... These are like old, like before English, just old language names. I'm really not even going to try to butcher them. But there is something notable up here. You kind of see how right down here in southern England, there's a lot more... factions, like they're smaller, but up here there's a lot more. There's less, but they have bigger areas. I'll get to that in a second. I thought that was pretty notable as well. So something that I kind of wanted to say was, so they mentioned how they were trying to keep things balanced. So I will also get onto how historically accurate they are in a second. But they kind of just mentioned right here, we try to keep the amount of territories the players control fairly consistent to keep things balanced. So like they admit that Wessex, probably like these would have been more, client states to Wessex, because they in reality they would have controlled pretty much this whole area. They would have had a huge area. But like Mercia and Wessex, like those were the big players of the time. And so I guess they wanted to keep it more balanced, for lack of a better term, so that you don't just automatically control all this area like right in central and southern England, which, it's I don't really mind that. I don't really can't really think of a better way that they would have fixed that. But I mean, I don't know, like maybe they could have had not revolutions, but just like riots or something like that, or bandits. You know, hey, they put in bandits for the DLC that just came out. But I don't know, it's not really a big deal. I guess I should be kind of happy because the more factions, the better. But you know, we'll see. So anyway, the historically accurate. So the issue with this now, like I am a history major, if you know, and the issue with this time period is that nothing is really like, well, not nothing. There's a lot of stuff you know that historians know, but the way that they got their historical, and that most historians get, you know, the information from the time and the records are from the annals. So those are essentially historical records from the time, like old historical records. Now, there are some historical records, like annals, that are just non-existent. So you kind of have to, I mean, that's kind of the thing historians have to do, kind of put the dots together. Nothing's ever really set in stone, but you just kind of have to connect the dots and say, okay, well, we figure since this is like this and we know it was like this, then we have, you know, then we can assume that this is how it would have been. And the reason I say that is because they did have a historian with them. It seems like Dr. Neil McGugan from the University of St. Andrews. So it seems like they definitely had help along the way, which I'm sure they always have historians with them, but just seeing that makes me as a historian feel better, knowing that they actually had somebody with them to kind of guide them through and say, okay, yes, you know, we're going to get this as historically accurate as possible. So the map up here, would have been nice for them to put this up here, but there are 10 playable factions, like they even said, oh, and to finish talking about the factions. Yeah, so it seems like they kind of had to put that in at the end there because they forgot to say it. Yes, Wessexa will be one of them, and then it seems like there will be, they'll probably reveal more. So definitely Northumbria. I would be so surprised if they left out Mercia. I'd be super surprised if they did that. I assume you'll probably be able to play as one of the Irish factions or the Irish tribes or clans. So provinces, what I mentioned before, something that is super interesting. So this is the province map. This is kind of what you would figure, you know. So each of these little, let's see here. Let's see, it probably won't be too big. Come on. Nope, it's not gonna do. Okay, anyway, so each of these little lines separate what will be a capital or a town. So as you can see, there's going to be tons of them here, tons of them. But just like down here, there's a bunch of them, and up here there's not as many because the settlements. So this is what I found really interesting, and this is going to be. This is like the problem with the franchise, but it's nothing like Creative Assembly's fault. It's just history's fault. And since nobody from right now was back then, it's tough to know. Yes, there were settlements all the way up here in northern Scotland, which there were. There just weren't a lot. My point is look down here at southern England. You've got like literally a lot of these could be like, you could do boom. You could take out a bunch of them in one turn if you wanted to. I'm just speaking. You know, I'm just trying to be practical right now and like realistic. Like if somebody really if the game was out, and I'm sure somebody will do this, and you just built up a bunch, like if you were Mercia right here in the center, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna invade Wessex, then you just could take 3 armies down and like look at how bunched these up together. You know how bunched up they are together. Now I don't have an issue because there have been other Total War games, like Shogun 2 has had areas like that where there's just cities really clumped together. Medieval 2 definitely right up there in northern Italy. There's so many right next to each other, Venice and Milan and whatnot. So the only thing is up here in Scotland, there's really none at all. So I mean, there's not none at all, but there's just very little. Which, like I said, it's not any fault of Creative Assembly. It's just, you know, it's just kind of. It's just how it is. So it's just going to be interesting to see if you can play as any factions up in the north, which I'm sure you'll be able to. Then how they, you know, if it's like, do you have a slower start? Do you have a quicker start? Because you might not be as attacked as much. So, you know, it'll be interesting. You know, you might not have to worry about being attacked as much, and you might be able to defend a bit more. You know, you're so far away from everyone. So now we get down to the last map. This is the map key. This is the resource map, and this is kind of going to show you the grassland, you know, the geography of the map. So actually, what they did was they kind of made it, as you can see, a cross between Shogun 2 with specific resource buildings, and combined with Rome 2 that allows minor settlements to be controlled. Like each minor settlement has a specific resource that they specialize in, which they just explain is, so that means you'll have to take care of your minor settlements. It can't just be like, okay, I can just have everything in my capital and I'll be all hunky-dory. Additionally, and I know some people do have a problem with this, is that how minor settlements still will not be able to have walls, which, this is, back then, a lot of it, you'd have to have a pretty big castle or like town, city to have a wall, which there weren't many back then. So if like this up here is any kind of depiction of what it might be like, I'd be really surprised. I kind of understand their reasoning with that, but still, I still understand how people are, a little like, we kind of want minor settlements to have walls. Like in Medieval 2, you could upgrade settlements to every single one can have a wall. But anyway, I digress because it seems like that's how they're going to do it. So now just one last thing. This is the map a bit more close up. I wanted to kind of really look at all the resources that there are. Saint, salt, silver, tin, trade. Okay, yeah. So like this is the key. So like trade. I guess there's no trade on here right now. Oh, I guess there is trade. I guess those are for ports. Yeah. So those are all the port cities. That's where those would be. So of course you have. I'm going to guess London, right over here in that area. So, this, and then of course they give the region descriptions, long fort. And so the map, as you can see, is extremely, extremely detailed. I don't think anybody would be able to dispute that. So I'm pretty excited for this map. They're really kind of coming out with information about it quickly. So honestly, I'd be surprised if this does, this is definitely coming out next year. I'm kind of hoping for a release that's before the fall of next year, because if I keep seeing stuff I like this presentation overall. So if I do, let me know what you think on it down below. I'm still kind of on the fence. I of course need to see a bit more with these maps. I'm a Mac guy. I like to see these things, and they kind of, I'm just like, oh yes, Wessex and Mercia. They seem so fun to play as, and they just conquer the little clans around them and little tribes around them. So this should be fun to fight the Vikings with Danelaw against Danelaw and whatnot. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. I hope this video did help you out somewhat. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.